Hey there, welcome to another special episode of Life at a Glance podcast. This is the Breakup with Your To-Do List collection. And in today's video, what we're going to be talking about is how we can let AI hold the mental load so we can actually gain momentum. But the first step in all of this is that I just want you to turn down the noise. And the noise of all of the tools, all of the marketing that you're hearing right now. I truly believe that that is the thing. Not that we're comparing ourselves, but all of the marketing noise is what keeps us feeling behind. I don't know about you, but just like I can't scroll because I feel inundated with all of the information about AI tools that pop out like gremlins every single day. The trust recession. Where are people getting these words? Where are they making up these phrases? And I think like one person gets a hold of it and then just everybody piles on top of that. And they're like, yeah, there is a trust recession. If you stop and you think, okay, what do I really need in order to run my business? Like I do that. I do a check in with myself because I feel like I'm missing out on things. But then I go, you know what? I like to run a really tight ship. I like to have a really tight tech stack. And so based on my numbers, like I'm looking at my tools and am I using it? Am I not using it? Am I involved? Am I not involved each and every month? And how those tools help the bottom line. And then the bottom line is directing me on the actions I need to take, which circle back to the tools. So I don't need like 75% of what is out there and what is happening. I need connections with my customer. I think way too many times we try to replace ourselves like so quickly before we completely understand our customer. And I'll give you just a quick, for example, and then we're going to dive into the episode. So over the weekend, Heather received a message in her inbox, and it was somebody that was complaining about the number of templates that were offered in the funnel. And normally I would be like, okay, but in this particular situation, I was like, no, I'm going to message back because I feel very proud of the way that I spend my time with my customers. So I sell obviously the $27 template, the Business Command Center. And every Tuesday for that $27 template, I go live for an hour with my customer and do an onboarding session with them. I used to do these once a month. And I was like, well, why do people need to wait? Like, let's do them once a week. So it's a part of my normal routine every Tuesday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And in those conversations with my customer, listening to their questions, they asked me, hey, how do you plan and track your social media? And I was like, oh, well, it's this. And the way that I explained it, the name came out Simple Social. And it happened over and over. It was like a pattern and a trend. And so 24, 48 hours later, Simple Social was born and it's added to my funnel and people buy it every single day. It is a very simple way to plan, track, and organize your social media, whether you're doing it yourself or whether you are working with a team. So then the next template that came about was the conversations that they would ask. So there's a part in the session that I do where they're live Q&A. And so all of the questions were done about the Business Command Center, and the question kept popping up. Do you use one board per client, or do you manage all of your clients on one board? And I was like, oh, well, here's the system. And I would sit there, and because I know Trello and it's so visual and I've done it now for over 6 years, I can quickly put a board together. But as I was quickly walking through it, like I could see my customer's face sliding off, not from the overwhelm of information, but it's like, okay, I want to be able to do that. I need the replay to this so I can do it. And it kept happening over and over. And it was almost a part of the onboarding call. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do, let's keep it in the theme, the client command center. And so I had so much fun putting that template together. And really, it's everything that you need, everything that I wish I would have had, what, 6, 7 years ago when I transitioned online and worked with my first client for $15 an hour. I wish I would have had this system. And so launched that. And I was like, I'm having conversations with my customer each and every week. And this is exactly what they're telling me that they need. And so I feel very comfortable offering these templates. Now, most recently, someone said, hey, I bought all of the templates. I feel overwhelmed. How do I put the ecosystem together? And I almost lost my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, I have an ecosystem. Okay, let me help you now put this together. So that's kind of like a behind the scenes insight into running your business, really focusing on customer, continuing to stay present. We use AI in our business, in my business, but I don't use it necessarily to replace me. I use it to help leverage time today, but I also use it to help me leverage time for what's coming in the future, my like future self and how I want to plan, right? And so I think that connection with your customer, like you always need to have that front and center. You always need to understand the customer experience. And I think that there are ways that we can use AI to enhance that. I've just recently, because of the conversation, so I've launched a custom GPT. So it's the setup wizard for the Business Command Center. So it asks you a couple of questions, your niche, your goal, and it walks you through. Literally walks you through how to set up the Business Command Center. I have recently created a GPT, a custom GPT that's trained on all of my templates. And with a couple of questions, it asks you which templates you've purchased. What's your goal? So it creates a custom experience for the customer, and it can get to them faster than I can. I'm still doing the Tuesdays because I still want to have the connection with my customer. But I just want you to think about turning down the noise, really focusing on what your business needs in order to run. And so now we're going to kind of transition over into really letting AI hold the mental load so that you can stay in momentum. All right. I think that this has been showing up for me, and I know this has been showing up for my customers too. It's not that the work is hard. Like, I love what it is I do. It is taking like the overwhelm someone is facing and just like breaking it down and organizing it and streamlining it so they don't have to work so hard. Um, I really think that thinking about the work is draining. And here's what I mean: the invisible load of figuring out things for the first time. It's almost like we need to stop, dedicate time, especially if it's like a new skill or something. So that's why I created the GPT. I wanted it to feel interactive with the customer so that they're like, it encourages them, it excites them, because it's actually, I've built in the GPT that like when they complete different tasks, it's almost like a cheerleader. And at the end, it summarizes, okay, here's what we've done and here's what I recommend that you do next. So it's like that. There's not, I'm collapsing that time for the customer, and so that they have success faster. Or what about this question? What's the next step? What's the next thing that I need to do? The next step, the next thing, the next thing. And the tabs open in your brain before you even touch the keyboard. Like all of that mental load, like all of those things are exhausting. And that's why we stall. That's why we procrastinate. That's why we doom scroll. And that's why we don't follow through even on things that we want to do. And it's okay if you're like, oh my God, she is in my brain. It's because I've felt these things. These things have happened to me, and I'm just saying them. I'm like your brain out loud. But the real drain, I think, for people, because I know it's happened to me, it's just like it's thinking how to do it. And every single task that you complete in your business takes energy. And we talk about like times of day working on things. Like in the morning, I'm going to record a podcast because that's when I feel most fresh. In the morning is when I'm working on the AI command center and I am working on all of the custom GPTs because that's when my brain is the freshest, not after I've had multiple calls or I've done a workshop, because there is a lot of energy that goes into that. And then when you're done after that, it's like it's a wave of exhaustion that happens at the end of the day. Because I mean, it takes energy to think through all of those things. Should I use this template? What do I write in this section? Where do I link it? What's the right time? What if I mess it up? Before you even start with any of those things, you're tired. So you put it off again. So let's talk a little bit about how AI lifts that load. And it's really how I feel like the magic of AI, because sometimes even like, so with Chat GPT, and that's my preferred, you do you, there's Claude, there's Perplexity, there's all Gemini, there's all of these different formats, right? Or wrappers of AI, but that's mine. And it's like I have this conversation, and sometimes like words are misspelled. It can be a stream of consciousness. And I've most recently, because I can't type as fast as I'm thinking sometimes, I will use the little microphone and click it and just go blah, 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 and then just click send and let it organize all of that. But I think the difference, and what we're going through now, because I've launched different AI products before, I think that we went through the phase and stage of prompts. And so you saw all those bundles of 1,000,000 prompts for $27, right? All the million prompts. And there were some that were really, really good. And there were some that were just really, really bad. And we were exploring. It's kind of like junk in, junk out, good in, good out. Like same thing like with your diet, exercise, all that, right? So that, and then the next wave is I feel like, because I launched this product and it was so early. It's so early. And it was some questions. It would ask you a couple of questions and then you would hit, the go button. And I literally said, as I sold this product, and then, hit go and then go get yourself a cup of coffee. Because it just took so long to generate the response. And I'm just like, people are not going to like this. They're waiting forever for the response. And then I did the second iteration. So I think there was like maybe 20 prompts, and that would generate an output. And then AI got better. So almost a year later, I think the second iteration was, there were 50 and it was off to the races, like so quick, super quick. I think the same thing is true with GPTs. I think that there are some that, are crappy. And I think that there are some that the output is just amazing. Well, it's because of how they're trained. I've done a lot of studying and I've done a lot of development of my own GPTs. And what is a good GPT and what is a really bad GPT. And I think more generic, let me just throw it out there, like, yeah, no, 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 no. I think the ones that are more refined, I mean, there's just more that goes into it. There is the training or the instructions, and there are the knowledge base, the assets that the training materials use. And depending on where you're buying from is the result of the output. So it could be something that's very, very generic, or it could be something that you're just like, hey, this is good. When you go, dang, this is good, what that just means is that having a good day, having a bad day, if you're tired, if you are on fire, and you're using that GPT to make sense of your words and the output is fire, do you know what that means for you? What that means for you is, number one, you can shut your laptop. Like, you're done with your job that day. Like, you've finished the task. Number two, you've actually made more money because we're spending less time in our business. So your rate per hour, in theory, goes up. Number three, that time that we schedule for new tech, or the time that we schedule for a new task that we want to complete, we've just collapsed it. We've just leveraged our time, and we are more encouraged to go and implement, get where I'm going, and gain momentum. So I've given you the example. I don't feel of the custom GPT kind of like the both sides of the coin, like a generic and more of a custom, well-trained GPT. So with that, like, you're not feeling the overwhelm. Overwhelm is fueled by all of the marketing that you are constantly just berated with. There are no more blank pages, and there's no more wondering if you're doing it right. And here's one, it's kind of one of the biggest ones, is the fear of missing out. The fear of missing something. I always, in real life or with AI, one of the questions that I always ask at the end is basically, protect my blind side. Is there anything that I haven't asked already that would help me make the decision, or help me to complete this task, or help me support my customer? That's the opportunity that we get. And I always like setting my customer up for success. I like setting my kids up, my husband up, my family up for success. Nothing gripes me worse than really feeling like the wool is, or the rug, the wool pull over my eyes, or rug pulled underneath my feet, or out from my feet, I should say. I think that's kind of what I'm feeling as my son is transferring to a really big university. Last night, he was saying, um, we've lived in this state for, I know Daniel and I have been married this year for 32 years. And it took a month and a half and a whole lot of documents. I felt like I was going to have to give my firstborn to the university in order to prove that we lived in the state of South Carolina. And Jack said, as he was leaving last night, he said, they make it really hard for you to get what you need, but they make it really easy for them to take it from you. Some wisdom might drop from the 19-year-old. All right. So, really quick, we're going to wrap this up. The shift from friction to flow. Friction to flow. That is what I want to feel. That's what I want you to feel. That's what I feel. That's what I want you to feel. It's that not AI doing work for you, it's AI doing the thinking with you. So my husband and I, we've even had these conversations around how I use AI in my business. And I said that the way that AI is helping me is not a generic, like, pulling things in a generic way of something I've never done before. It's literally taken all of my training. I think I've got like 4,000 plus videos, those transcripts, my playbooks, my templates, my trainings that I do, my onboarding that I do, the coaching that I've done over the years. And it takes all of that information and knows how I work, how I think, how I train, how I solve problems. And it helps me do those things faster, so that then I'm focusing on my customer experience. That is my happy place. Inside of Low Ticket Designer, one of the things I talk about is dazzle and delight. What can you do to dazzle and delight your customer? That's the fun part. That's the unexpected part, because people's expectations are so low right now, so low. And that's why if people don't get their product information, that's why I get really angry, sometimes even nasty emails in our inbox. And not all the time, but most of the time it's because they've entered their email in incorrectly, but they have been treated so badly, and the products they have received are such crap. That's why they lash out at me. It's a really interesting cycle. And when you share back with them the screenshot of what they've been, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. There's a message in there somewhere, I'm sure. Um, But what I want to have happen is AI thinking for you. So a lot of the friction points and barriers are collapsed so that you can gain, you know where I'm going, momentum. So, yes, I'm working on the AI Command Center. Yes, it literally is the third version of AI that I have created. They are literally custom GPTs in specific areas. One is marketing. We're not going to go into all of them, but one is marketing. There is an overall marketing GPT, but then there are specialists. And those specialists specialize in emails. They specialize, I call it the 4A framework, creating posts in 4 different angles, which psychologically, the way that your customer, because we all have different personality types, we all respond differently to different types of posts. So if you're always doing how to, there are customer segments that you're missing, right? So the 4A framework. Podcast, there is blog post, there are emails. And so there are specialists or GPT specialists that can complete those tasks. And so you can take your voice, i.e., emails that you've written, sales pages that you have, the way that you sign all of your emails, your email signature, and training the GPT. You pull in, I need to write an email. So you pull it in, you do it. And I don't think that the output, sometimes the output is amazing. Sometimes, even with a really good trained GPT, I mean, I always say, you as the expert, you as the business owner, you need to do some editing. But even if you do some editing, it's a lot less time than it would have taken for you to write the email and then sit there, especially if they're email sequences, sit there and question whether or not, okay, did I say what I needed to say here? Did I forget anything here? What did I need to put in here? I wonder what they included here. Let me go look. It saves you so much time. All without, it's the overthinking. The overthinking is exhausting. Also, without the burnout before you even start. So I'm going to wrap this up because I told a lot of stories, but essentially what we're talking about is AI carrying the heavy load. And so if your brain has been carrying too much, and I'm going to raise my hand, my brain is carrying a lot right now. And I think that they're just different seasons of life, whether it's the things that I'm carrying in my brain right now in terms of business are making sure that everything is solid in the business, meaning, is there anything that we need to add to the templates? How do I need to change up what I'm doing, or do I need to change up what's happening on Trello Tuesday? How the membership. We just did an audit of the members area, and solid, feeling so solid. I'm adding GPTs to the membership, specific to the playbooks that are inside of there. There's Betty, she's the big one, but I think that I'm going to add GPTs for each playbook that's in there. Oh, I'm so excited about doing that. Um, because my shift now is to really the AI command center. And it's driven from the fact from all of the noise that I'm hearing and people just the constant flux of feeling behind. And if there's one thing and one reason why I started my business, it was because I wanted to carve out space for myself and do my thing, not to constantly feel overwhelmed, not to constantly feel like I'm behind, or not to constantly feel like I'm overthinking things. I want to do this for me because on the other side of the coin, when we're talking about overthinking, I've got two kids that are going to school. Thomas is getting ready to go back as a junior, and lots of things going on for him I'm super excited about. Jack is transferring to a huge university and what that means. So that's happening here in the next 2 weeks. Maggie is starting taking classes again. Ander is doing well after his emergency appendectomy. We're almost at a year anniversary of the tree splitting the house. And earlier this week, I went into the house and Zach was in there and we were going through a list and I had to leave the house because I just felt so overwhelmed by all of the micro decisions. So for me, I've identified that it's really life that's overwhelming. So how can I further streamline business so that I have capacity for life, but I still get to do what I want to do inside of my business? So, if your brain has been carrying too much, the next step always feels heavier than it should. Let AI hold some of the weight. Because when you remove the friction, the action flows. So, maybe at the time of this recording, the URL is up and running. Breakupwithyourtodolist.com. We've tried. We'll see. If this is on YouTube, or if this is an email that you have received for me, you can always just click a link so that you can register for the workshop. Now, I've done this workshop before, Break Up With Your To-Do List. I just love, love, love it. But I'm really doing it from an angle of breaking up with your to-do list with a big dose of AI. All right. So until next time, take care. We'll talk soon.